Okay, there you go.
All righty, everybody.
Oh, they've been dropping their locations in the chat.
I love it. Love it. Love it.
The numbers are mounting.
Perfect.
In DC. Hello, Dylan.
Yes, please put your city and state in the chat so we can recognize you.
Miami. Dallas.
Put your city, state in the chat. Yes.
Mexico. All right. Seattle, Maryland. Hey. Welcome, welcome all.
Welcome to everybody. We're so excited to have everyone here tonight. We have a legend coming on to join us.
Indeed, we do.
In the meantime, you all know how I like to do it. So we got a couple of minutes and hopefully Dr. Kimbro will join us in the next couple of minutes. So Dr. Keisha and Talisha, would you tell us maybe the top news story or just story overall that you're following right now? What's tickling your fancy?
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You know, I still am on I'm in that back to school mode. I'm, an educator of the group. And I just have a really cool share. I just completed a panel discussion in virtual reality. So it was really kind of cool. Yeah, it was kind of cool. I didn't get the fullness because my headset didn't work. So I was just using the PC version with my mouse or whatever, but it went down. We did that. We had a really good flow of conversation. It went well. I'm excited about that. It's a great experience.
Fantastic.
Yeah, BBC got a plug too in there. In the Center for Blockchain.
A blockchain event that was hosted in a virtual reality setting.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. And unfortunately, the individuals who were hosting it were not really familiar with the technology. So it made it a bit awkward. And I think even the subject matter, sometimes it doesn't lend itself to that. I mean, again, virtual reality is great, but sometimes it's like we could have had a Zoom and it would have been just as more even better. Just have people talking, because that was really what the conversation was. There wasn't really any need for the extra layer. And sometimes I think we add things just because we can, and that's where technology becomes actually an inhibitor. It made the situation a little less likely. I couldn't hear because she's trying to move and I'm watching her crawl up the wall. And I'm like, why are you moving up there? Like, if she's moving, she has no idea how to control herself. So she's on the desk and over the wall and down, like, okay, what are we doing? What was that?
I know.
I always find that very interesting when people use VR for that purpose.
Well, thankfully, ours was about gaming and VR for social emotional development, health and wellness, transformative education. So it was actually very cool the way it was set up too. If we were like inside of a video game kind of thing.
That's demonstrative. That would be well worth the content, and it fit what you were talking about.
Yeah, so it was cool.
That's awesome. We can't have a alum in the house. Hello, Dr. Culpepper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I see. Oh, wow. So what about you? What do you have? What was on your mind? I just ran with that one.
Again, I've been working, so it's very difficult. She says,
nothing on the forefront besides.
I curate content all day, so there are a good 20 to 30 things we could talk about, but there's nothing important,
Time doesn't permit. Understood.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm here, I'm doing what needs to be done, I'm getting everything together. So that's as good as it gets.
I hear you. I do hear you.
Yeah. It's interesting because, everybody, I just texted the person who got us Dr. Kimbro to see if they're able to get in touch with him. But in the meantime, we'll be here. And so it's funny because I haven't had much opportunity at all to look at, I'm aware just overall what's happening in the world, but like a really quick overall. Yes. It has to be like major news for me to look.
Yeah, pretty much.
Look up. Yes, for me to look up. So anybody in the chat, tell us something that you've been following lately, a news story or anything like that.
Somebody's got
and there's somebody with their hand raised. Oops.
Yeah, call-in listener. One call-in listener. Let's see.
Yeah, I just want to. Oh, it's Eric. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Want to
bring him in.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
All right. Got any hot topics on your mind? That was the big question as we waited for Dr. Kimbro.
Is waiting, yes. Any hot topics?
I mean, for me, looking at the, of course, looking at the crypto space and looking at some of the developments and things that are taking place, and it there's a real thing that's taking place now. This opened up, and the Bitcoin maximalists are, they are at civil war with the ETH maximalists. They are going at each other like tooth and nail, like back and forth. And it's odd to kind of watch it. And everyone on both sides are very much strident in their point of views and who they feel is going to come out on top. And it's really interesting to see that develop, because in 2017 that wasn't the take on it, but now it's heated up now to a point where it's really intensified.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's several influencers that I follow, and they just did a recent podcast where they had Vitalik on debating with one of the Bitcoin maximalists, Samson Mao, and I guess it was really intense and really heated. Yeah, it's really interesting to see that.
That is kind of odd.
So long from I did a blockchain basics and crypto basics course just yesterday, where I was teaching just individuals who wanted to know a little bit more about the space. And I said, it has changed so dynamically since I entered it, which was 4 years ago, that it's just amazing to see the depth by which we've come and traversed. And you've talked about this, Eric, a couple of times, of how much ground we've covered in a very small amount of time, from that craze that we had, the crypto craze at the end of 2017 to now. And even just the infrastructure changes, some of the the protocols that we're using, some of even just the mindsets that we're using to evaluate what cryptocurrencies are and what they can do for us is really amazing. So I appreciate, I like the little banter going back and forth, but it's just nice to see that we're having those kind of conversations.
Absolutely. It's Alicia. Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting just to watch it and just to see. You look at the Ethereum community, and they've really grown. Really grown now to the point. I read an article just recently, and it was talking about the Ethereum community and how they see themselves. It's funny. It said that the people that are more so on the strictly Bitcoin maximalist side see themselves in more of an individualistic standpoint, whereas those from the East side see themselves more as a community-oriented approach. And it's kind of like these warring philosophies are colliding together. So I'm just fascinated always about that. Like I said before, my background is sociology, so I'm always fascinated in seeing these things materialize and develop.
Well, I'd like to delve into the topic tonight of building Black wealth, even though Bitcoin is one way and crypto is one way that it could happen. So I confirmed tonight, and I don't know, what happened, but you know what? The four of us are here, and we're just going to go with it, because we have 86 people here. So
Wait,
let's not just disperse. Let us actually have a conversation. So I'm going to hit record and say hello, everybody. Welcome to the 10K Project. It's not exactly the conversation we thought we were going to have, but that's okay. Tonight is all about building Black wealth, and we want to welcome you here. If you're new to the 10K Project, we want to take a moment, tell you who we are, what we do, and then you know what? I'm just going to throw out a couple of topics, and I'm going to let my co-host here come and talk about it from their point of view, because look, we have a lot to talk about. We could talk a lot about building Black wealth. So
sure.
the 10K Project is the nation's largest community of investors who are funding Black businesses for as little as $100 per investment. The concept is super simple. When 10,000 of us get together, we put in $100 each. That's $1 million. We can start funding our own businesses. We can profit from our own innovation. We can create jobs in the community that are so desperately needed, and we can help to build Black wealth. And a lot of times wealth is built because people are investing in private companies. They're investing in startup companies. Of course, we can't guarantee any kind of profit for any specific person or any portfolio. However, we do know, and we do have the research with regards to when people are putting together portfolios of these private companies, how well that they do. So with that, I want to open up a couple of questions to my panel here. Number one is, what is the top thing you think about when you think about building Black wealth? It could be anything around your family. It could be around something you do yourself. It could be something you're curious about. I also want to encourage people to either put it in the chat. The best tip or question will win either $10 of an Amazon gift card or $10 of Bitcoin, your choice. So between now, which is 7:42, and we'll have it open to 7:50. I want to hear what you think about when you think about building Black wealth. What does that mean from an economic point of view, from your family's point of view, et cetera? Because we want tonight to be very, very interactive. So I'm going to open it up to anybody, Talisha, Dr. Keisha, Eric, to, what do you guys think?
Well, I'll jump in and start, partly because what always comes to my mind as a parent is to pass things off to my kids. I want so very much to have them do better than me, and I think all of us have kind of experienced that with our own parents. Every parent wants that for their child. And I know that's been the case with my parents, in terms of education attainment, which is the thing in our family. But I want them to go beyond that. I want them to be have an entrepreneurial mindset, and really tap into their creativity and their ability to solve problems in the world, so that's what really comes to mind to me in terms of real wealth, because if you're able to solve problems, find comfort in a space of disequilibrium, where there's because things aren't linear. They in real life, things are not linear. There's constant up down cyclical existence, and it's just not a 30-minute sitcom kind of thing. Things really have rough patches to it, and that's the real life. The good times take care of themselves. So that's my real focus for in my mind, is being able to have children to carry the wealth on and have such a sense of empowerment that, even if they fail, they just get up and keep going. They see it as part of the learning process and not a failure, kind of thing. So yeah, that's my take.
All right. Felicia, Eric?
Same mindset. It definitely begins at a whole different, we have to restructure and redefine. I think a lot of things have to be unlearned. I know growing up, I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is a steel town. And at that point, 1972, everybody worked in the mill. There was no choice. There wasn't any option. You worked in the mill because that was the best job. You got 100% insurance. Everybody else did it. Everybody in your family did it. It was great. Until 1983, when they literally closed, 56 mills in 2 weeks. So that became a very interesting mind shift, but not a mindset change. And that's what happens. You have to prepare for things. And I think before it was, oh, this is how we've always done it. That mentality is very much prevalent, and that has to be changed. Like, that is truly rooted in something of what we pass down. Unfortunately, that's something that needs to change before we pass that down. That truly needs to be eradicated, and something else needs to be replaced, because the mindset is truly the true building blocks. We have to look at things differently, and we have to operate differently, therefore. So I think that's really when I think of defining Black wealth and redefining it, what that means to us specifically, individually, collectively, and how do we get there is another part. So in that, the educational piece that Dr. Keisha always talks about, but you got to start with, you got to know something, you got to do something different before you learn it. And that's really where you're trying to get to. So that mindset shift is really important.
Yeah. And I'm going to piggyback on that, Talisha. But before I do that, Eric, I want to give you a chance to jump in here.
For me, it's about self-sovereignty. And I don't just say that just for myself. I say that for any and every other Black person. That I don't want to see young people have any life where they're not able to live it to the fullest of see their dreams, where there are restrictions and constrictions against that. I don't want to see middle-aged people who are overcome with bills and that sort of thing, to the point that it now affects their mental, emotional, and then physical health. I don't want to see older Black people who then aren't able to live their lives out with real dignity because they don't have enough money to be able to do that. Black wealth is something to me that encompasses all of that. And that's the way I see it. It's not just about one individual achieving wealth. It's about the community as a whole being able to live itself with real self-sovereignty. Someone has a business that they want to start, and then they want to hire people within the community so that they can then support themselves and their families. Black wealth is the tool that allows that to really take place and to be able to for communities to be able to flourish. And to me, that's what it comes down to me about. It comes down to, I want to see Black people flourishing across all ages, across all communities. That's the connection to me. That's the tie that binds, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
So I just got a phone number for Dr. Kimbro. So I want to put myself on mute and call him. But before I do that, I heard Talisha say something and then Eric say something. And I think this is going to be where our conversation goes. So Talisha talked about the 56 mills closing in 2 weeks. And then Eric talked about flourishing. In our community, the first thing that we need is economic stability, right? Because some of us are like very blessed professionally, right? And others of us are not. And in other communities, they don't maybe sometimes have to carry the weight of those family members who are not as economically independent as we are as professionals. We have certain things that we have to deal with ethnically that maybe others don't have to. So when we talk about building Black wealth, what do we think with regards to that stability in the community? What does it take? Is it more jobs? Is it more entrepreneurship? The 10K project is one of those things where we are, uplifting entrepreneurship. However, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, number one. It's a really big thing. If you can't go a few months without a paycheck, entrepreneurship is not for you. Number two is there's something that I was introduced to, this term called super teams. we need to really start thinking in regards to building teams of people that can take these businesses and build these billion-dollar businesses. Because even if and when the 10K project starts funding businesses, if we don't have these teams around them that can help these businesses grow, we're going to, wither on the vine. The third thing I keep bringing up is Roland Martin a few months ago, probably several months now, had a segment where he talked about artificial intelligence is going to cost Black America 4.3 million jobs in the next decade. That's just AI. That doesn't include things like blockchain, et cetera, et cetera. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? So in the chat, I want you to be interactive with us. Tell us, based on all of these things that's coming in the next decade, what are we going to do, and how can the 10K project help to cushion that blow? Because Eric is talking about flourishing, but if we don't have any kind of economic stability, then what are we going to do? I know I said a whole lot, but I think this is the main conversation that we need to have. So I'm going to put myself on mute while I call Dr. Kimbro, see if I can get him on. But I want my three co-hosts to chime in here, please, and everyone in the chat as well.
Yeah, definitely. Excuse me. Well, you know what, guys? I know education, like I just put in there, hashtag skill up. We got to skill up. When you know better, you do better. We have so much available to us. And there are many of us who know more than others, and that's what Cherie was alluding to. We can look in enterprise right now. The ones who are surviving are the ones who are collaborating, the ones who are merging, and going forward, really. And we were talking about blockchain before. The whole spirit of blockchain is collaborative, so that really is huge. It really is. As much as we are in a moment right now for Black empowerment, that does mean that many of us are going to have to reach out to each one reach one. And there's strength in our numbers, and in our power, our brain power, our expertise. So everybody's got to be teachable and trainable and coachable. Truly.
I'd say the blockchain is a perfect example, because it's an ecosystem where the more participants, the better it is.
Stronger it is.
Yeah. So it doesn't really require you to be a nucleus. You participate, you get that really tight and right for yourself, but then you go and say, okay, now I need to give this, and now I need to participate because I'm stronger with this group. And that's where that consensus really does work. And so we really have independent businesses, and a lot of our businesses, we lost 410,000 businesses this year. Black businesses that are likely to not return. That's a significant number, and most of our businesses are sole proprietorships. We have these little spits of things, and that's what happens is we don't work collectively and to make sure that our businesses thrive, let alone where you don't have to do the whole thing. And that's why sometimes we work in our businesses instead of working on our businesses. You have to be able to extradite yourself from your business to see what available things you can do for the collaboration and for your business to thrive, not just to be okay for today. You have to be able to project. And that's one of the things that we, as a business, people that we haven't been able to do is really to get our businesses to go from beyond, that 1 year, 2 year plan. You do need to have a 5 year, 10 year, 20 year plan now for your business and be able to very much pivot. That's what we saw with most of these businesses were not able to pivot due to a lot of things. Specifically, their technology was lacking because, again, they didn't have the correct funding. So they're using antiquated systems or just getting by with the bare basics. And technology, every company is a technology company now. That's just the way it is. You are a technology company that has a specialty. You sell a service, you sell a product, but you have a technical infrastructure to run your business. You have to have an online presence. Your brick and mortar has to be malleable. These are the things that really are the strategies that, again, we can all collectively utilize if we came together. Where, like I said, you won't be able to do that if you're just, a single proprietor saying, okay, I'm just going to try to make payroll next week. It's too difficult. And you don't have to suffer alone. You do have the community to help you. So I think that's the one thing that mind shift, and it has to change where it's just not me against the world. You have a community, you need to tap into it.
Yeah.
You know what, and Talisha, can I join in something you just said? Because that is a big point of community and collective when it comes down to business. We look historically at any communities. That was what they did, and that was one of the things that really gave them a lot of power. Now, let me just say this for all of us. We're not always going to think the same. We're not all going to have the same faith. We're not all going to have the same political persuasions and outlooks and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
We have to get to a point where, you know what, that's okay. That's fine that you don't. But the main goal that we have is for us to do business together so that we can further and better the community overall. And we put that then really at one of the tops. Like, if you really look at it, like, we talked about this before with Black Wall Street. Those two men who came together, and really came together to formulate Black Wall Street there in Tulsa and Greenwood. One of those guys was very much a proponent of Booker T. Washington. The other one was very much a proponent of W.E.B. Du Bois. Very much different ideologies, but they were able then to say, you know what, that's fine, but we are going to put our ideologies down a notch and put Black flourishing together at the top of the list. Mm-hmm. And then that's how we're going to move and work together. And to me, I just believe that as a community, as a collective, accepting that, recognizing that, and being fine with that. Let's just be completely fine with it. That's okay, everybody. That's okay. That allows us to have real cohesiveness and move together. To me, that's just a.
You know what, and you actually bring up another point that I wanted to bring to light. As much as we love our technology, and we totally do, when this power goes out, we still need folks who know how to grow stuff, and you talked about being self-sufficient and having some some ability to stand alone and yet work together. As much as we love our tech, those skills, let's not lose those skills either. We need everybody who's able to plant some stuff when there's no electricity and whatnot like that, so we can continue to eat. So keep that in mind. That's another thing too. I always say that as much as I love my technology, I behind COVID happening, that really had me thinking like, okay, if everything's shut down in terms of the tech, then what? Who's ready for that, really? And that would be our urban farmers, who we have a lot of, and there are many of them in our communities. I know in Detroit, we have tons of them. It was amazing. I go down different streets. I'm like, oh, is that a farm over there? And is that this? So it's tremendous. So again, those skills are not to be poo-pooed, by any means. And somebody was mentioning.
And I'm back, everybody. I'm sorry, I'm back. So I left a message, we'll have to reschedule with him, but I think this is a great conversation. Yeah. And we're going to encourage everyone to stay here, because my next question really drives into, okay, so I personally believe that we have to get organized. I believe the reason we haven't seen, somebody mentioned politics, we haven't seen a lot of the political strides that we saw in the civil rights movement. We haven't seen a lot of the economic strides that we could have and should have seen over the past, I'm going to say 25 years, because I am a child of the 80s, right? So, during that time, there was affirmative action and things like that, and we progressed. And now it seems kind of like we're stagnant, because we can't go by the celebrities that are out there. We have to look at each, at like, I'm going to say normal families or middle-class families, et cetera, right? Okay, so my next question for the chat here, and I want you to put your answers in and really think about it, is how can we organize the 10K project in order to help Black families in the Black community flourish? How, so I'll give you an example. We had someone come to us and say, you know, what would be really great is if we had Zoom, rooms where groups of us can get together and just brainstorm about different industries. And Talisha talked about it, not just thinking 2 years down the road, but thinking a decade down the road. And, some people, like Dr. Keisha say, may be interested in agriculture. We had Lamar Wilson here who dropped bombs last week, not literally, of course. I don't want the Zoom to, shut off here, but gave gems last week talking about agriculture and their distribution network that they're creating at Sunjoined. So one of the things that I would like to see us do is really, really get organized. And whether it's through the 10K project or some other place, I believe that part of the reason we're not doing as well as we could and not flourishing as well as we could is because we're not as organized as we could be. I also want to answer Ken's question here from my point of view. If artificial intelligence is a threat to Black employment, as an example, oh, Talisha, you moved it.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's in the chat too. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. So, because I did want to talk about this. If artificial intelligence is a threat to Black employment, as an example, I think we need strategies for Black people to flood tech. A targeted approach leads to a broad spectrum of the demographic in India. Led a broad spectrum of the demographic in India to the middle class, which is very true, and China as well. Different factors apply, obviously, but I think broad view education to push Black people in all sectors of tech is important. So what Dr. Keisha was saying, and I'm sorry I didn't hear absolutely everything, but not just agriculture, land, right? Being able to convert raw land into real estate, into residential, houses and things like that. We have a lot of our people who could be plumbers and home inspectors. Home inspectors make 6 figures. I didn't even know that. So we're looking at a few different industries. We're looking at manufacturing and the supply chain. Mm-hmm. We've talked about that within the 10K project and the fact that that the pandemic has really shown a light on the issues with the supply chain. Mm-hmm. And even though a lot of people are unemployed, Jeff Bezos and his group has made a whole lot of money. I wish I had bought some Amazon stock, last year when I was buying a lot of stocks. So we do want to look at tech, but I also believe that we need to look at other things as well and be strategic.
Yeah, I think part of that strategic, analysis of industries and such is to keep in mind, I think we've talked about this many times, is to look at those complementary services and substitution type services. So we have the full vertical, on lock, mm-hmm. So, like we were just talking about, how can people kind of onboard on these different things, these different technologies and such. Think about the things that support them. Everybody knows when technology gets hot, it's done, it's not about to work. So our HVAC folks, I know my daughter is interested in being a welder, for God's sakes, so welding, all these types of things are necessary, and as Talisha's always saying, the tech is going to be weaved into that. But those are some of those great onboarding types of positions for middle skilled individuals, and the thing that's tremendous about living in this particular time and having the technology we have, it's, again, as much as I've gone all the way to get a PhD and I'm in education myself, learning is a lifelong effort that it's so easy to do now. It's at our fingertips. Whatever you want to learn, you can find it. You can find it, and it's well done, but you just have to look for it. You really have to look for it. And the price points are affordable in a lot of cases.
Can I ask you a question about that, Dr. Keisha?
Sure, please.
Because I hear people talk about learning all the time. I personally believe a lot of times we choose not to study things because we are studying alone. And what I mean by that, so all of us, all of the co-founders here within the 10K Project are also a part of another community around blockchain. And through that community, one of the things that Dr. Keisha's leading up is this group learning about smart contracts.
Yes.
And because the community has come together and they have lessons together as a class, I honestly believe that they're all learning more and they're all sticking with it longer because it's done in a class. I'm very, very leery of us coming and sprinkling this just learn more out there and not really digging down into why we're not learning more, which is why I'm a fan of the virtual incubator idea, for example, and having people get together and just say, hey, let's just brainstorm about this industry and see where we end up, because nobody ever comes up with their idea, a $1 billion company in a vacuum.
Agreed.
So Dr. Keisha, because you're the educator, I'd love to have you dig down into that more. And I do see the question about reparations. We will have a comment about that, Rita, so don't think I'm ignoring you.
Okay. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Learning is a social construct. If you think about cohorts, working together and like you said, just really learning from each other, lifting the other person on their leaning side. I know myself, a lot of time, and just being a parent, a lot of times that your own kids will receive the same stuff that you've been saying. They'll receive it from an uncle or from a friend or from somebody else. So absolutely, learning is absolutely a social construct that we definitely need to get together on, to be sure. But the thing is they're master classes. There's all types of things. There's all types of ways you can receive the information. That just can't be overlooked in this moment. It just really can't. So
yeah. Talisha, Eric, what do you guys think about that?
I would say specifically, there's two things that I just they keep going. This is concentric circle kind of thing with tech. Tech is a large, I think, term. I think people get stuck on what tech means. Yes, I have a computer science degree. Yes, I've been in the computer industry and tech industry for a very long time. Half of my career was not spent programming. It becomes a business operation. And I think that's where we do ourselves a disservice by calling tech and thinking that it's, the binary code and you have to do all that. It's truly about developing business strategies, because they said it exists. It's kind of like a plug and play off the shelf. There's so much in tech right now that doesn't require that back end skill. What really, really is important right now is the business constructs that come. What can you do with it rather than how do you build it?
Yes.
So comes the first part that just instantly turns people off to say, oh, tech. It's like, oh no, I don't do that. You use tech every single day. You use your phone, you use your remote controls, you use tech in every different ways. You've even hacked the system to make sure that your TV turns on the way you want it to at what time and all that jazz. And that's where the education piece, we can educate ourselves to death. It's the vocational experience that we're really missing, because again, having just the educational prowess will not build a business. It is a vocational experience across the board. And that's what people are looking for. People are not investing in you with the great idea on paper. They want to see what did you do? How did you make it work? Oh, it's Jimmy rigged. It has a little duct tape on it, but oh, that seems like a good idea because it came to fruition. We can spend time in these theoretical approaches, which is a lot of education, but it's really once you hit the ground running and truly show the world what can happen. And failure is not failure. It is just the attempt. It shows you, and that's what people are trying to see. How did you move through it? Because everything doesn't work. code in a daily basis, and I test all day long. And I'm like, this didn't work, that didn't work. These things don't work all the time. It's not about that part. It's about getting through that. How do we maneuver around that? So those two things combined, I think, are very important for us to, again, have that mind shift change, that it's not this heavy in the basement coding person, that you have to have the heads down. And it's not about how many degrees you can or how many classes you've taken, because those don't help you. Those are really, you can't prove that information has now become a tangible thing, then you're lost again and you're behind the curve.
All right. And, I really want to add to that too. I'm sorry, just to say too, that when I talk about education, I am absolutely talking about the reformed variety, because I am so anti-traditional education. Believe that. So when I'm talking about it, I am talking about the type of education where you are fully immersed. It hurts my heart to have people graduate from a system and then they feel like they have to now learn what it all meant, what the reason was that they learned how to write and read and all that. It's, that isolated information is not helpful. To really learn, it does need to be within a situated learning environment where it's full application, applied learning. And when you do it like that, you learn so much. That's why gaming is so important for education. That's what I was just in a discussion about that. In a gaming situation, there's so much thinking that goes on. There's so much collaborative working going on. There's so many skills that are learned that transfer out into the real world. And that's what we need. We definitely need. I absolutely agree with you 100%.
So Talisha mentioned vocational experience. I'm going to mention you got to be able to execute. So now I'm going to put my business plan writer hat on and talk to you as if I'm, talking to investors. Okay. The number one reason that an investor, a professional investor, does not put money into a company has nothing to do with the suggested product or service. It has to do with the team. And do I believe that this team can execute? Meaning, do I believe this team can do it? So when Talisha starts talking about, having your head in the clouds and just doing coding, versus having something that has duct tape on it, but it's out in the world and people are interested in it, especially if they're giving you a couple of dollars for it with duct tape, all of a sudden investors are more interested in your company and in funding your company. And I think that's one of the big tips is, we talked about, Kenneth mentioned about, career moves and what career moves we should make. Don't sleep on sales. So we mentioned tech, we mentioned agriculture being able to grow, etc. But some of the top people in the country are not the people who know how to code, they're the people who know how to sell. Absolutely. They're not even the people who know how to grow the tomatoes, they're the people who know how to sell the ketchup, right? Yep. And can sell it for a premium. The people who know how to market, the people who know how to put communities of people together who are loyal, raving fans. Mm-hmm. These are people that can command a salary plus commission if you can bring someone to the table who is willing to spend money on that product or service. Mm-hmm. So, education, you can be educated in terms of being a salesperson. There are ethical things you can do to become a better salesperson. But going back to Dr. Keisha, I personally believe that the best salespeople are the best teachers. People who are able to communicate and express themselves and teach someone something about what they're going to do or explain the process of what they're going to do. And all of a sudden people say, you know what? I like you. I trust you. I'm willing to, have you consult with me or be my salesperson, et cetera, et cetera. So, Curtis is saying sales is number one skill. I personally agree with that.
Yeah.
You know how to sell, you'll never go hungry.
You never go hungry.
Never go hungry. Eric, I'll open it up to you, and then we have a couple of questions in here too.
No, I mean, I'm just going to say that, I remember this psychiatrist, his name was Ned Hollowell. I was listening to him. I don't know if you guys ever used to buy Darren Hardy's Success magazine. I was buying that and listening to like a lot of the interviews and stuff like that, especially when they had the little CD inside the thing when we were using CDs for us people, older people. But I remember him saying something one time in one of these interviews. He said, this was Ned Hollowell, a psychiatrist, real learning expert. He said, emotion is an on-off switch for learning. And I'd say that in the sense of when you are really driven and passionate about something, that will be something that really drives you and pushes you over the hump when the things are really difficult, because you so much love what you're learning about and how you're then going to use it. But and I just say that even probably, even for, and I'm sure Dr. Keisha could either say, yeah, I kind of seen that, but you take children or high school kids and you're pushing them in to learn, hey, we're going to study English literature. And they're like, okay, what?
Whatever.
Yeah. And you might have some that are, that really do grab it and love it.
Yeah.
And that. But so often I think we kind of really like force feed that thing through everyone. And I think it's much more important to cultivate those things you are very, very interested in, passionate about, and then to funnel those things into your learning experiences. I've always seen that. I've always found a lot of personal value. I mean, that's what led me into blockchain itself, of just wanting to really just gravitate and learn as much as possible. And then, of course, becoming the titan of tokenization, because I see that and I'm like, okay, that's it. Wild horses can't drive me away from this. Like, I love this. I want to just grab as much as I can, from it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple of questions here. The first that will reparations, and I will have to put a caveat in this. We are working to get approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission, so we stay away from political discussions here, okay? And I hope you understand that. Do we all individually have our political viewpoints about not only reparations, but everything else? Yes, absolutely. We're very, very passionate co-founders. I will say I'm not waiting on reparations, and that's part of the 10K project. Not waiting on it.
What should we like?
Go ahead.
Can I just say something about reparations?
Yeah, just be careful.
I am. So if you need to edit it, there you go. But I think I'm going to kind of handle this right. Listen, because I am a very strong believer in reparations, having this, descended from slaves on both sides of my family. Let me just say this about it. The intent behind reparations, and I will say this too, because I do listen and do a lot of reading and studying on reparations too, from a lot of contemporaries. This is seed money. The intent about this will be seed money to allow us to rebuild a community. This isn't about personal consumption, as it would be about really looking to rebuild, and like we talked about, human flourishing, Black people flourishing, Black communities flourishing. That's what the intent, and that's what undergirds it. So I say, and reason why I say that is I look at the 10K project as something that would work in conjunction with something like that, because like I said before, this wouldn't be about Eric going out and buying a new Lexus.
Right.
No, this would be about Eric investing in those entrepreneurs who would then start and build our own Lexus, company. And that's how I see it.
And we talked about how that would be the case is by changing a mindset. We've seen many people win the lottery and end up being back poor because the mindset wasn't changed. And again, so that's what we would have to really make sure it is the place, everybody's mind is in that place to to make sure like we just started off talking about, making sure we had wealth for our community, that it not just be a one and done kind of thing, but have it really pay off by developing our community. And I think that if we did have it, that'd be awesome. I'll take it. But, at the same time, that's not the only thing we're looking for. I'm not waiting for someone to decide to give me or not give me anything. I want to be able to build from my own, abilities and my own community, because we have the ability. Yeah.
You absolutely do. So Antoine is asking or saying strategically, this goes back to me asking about how we could organize this. Create a 10K project Black community in each state, investing, buying land, creating scalable businesses and investing in them. Take the above and create nonprofits to teach Black families, Black churches, and Black coalitions, having HBCUs expand the above training down the K to 12 pipeline to change the Black generational mindset over the next decade. So first of all, I'm a big fan of a 10-year plan. So, kudos to you, Antoine. I think you've been here though. So you've heard me say that. Our 10K project is, a national organization. So I saw someone else ask, can we do global? The Securities and Exchange Commission requires us to have US-based companies that we are funding. What I will say is, as we start organizing, though, there's nothing to even prevent you from saying, let's say you live in Philadelphia. Hey, all the 10K project people who live in Philly, let's, come together again in a virtual room and talk about, maybe it's some of the land that you have. Maybe you're going outside of Philadelphia and looking in different places in Delaware and Pennsylvania, coordinating. And I do think that that's a big thing. And it really does take one person just standing up and saying, hey, what do you think about this? Can we all just get together and just brainstorm? And that's how we create big things, is by doing things like that. I'm also a big fan of the churches, the Black churches. Our churches get $14 billion a year. We should be able, whether it's 10K project or some other places, to put at least $2 billion a year into Black businesses. I personally believe that. We have right now some outreach to churches. Right now we're working with a gospel station in Miami, but 10K project is, and we're looking for other gospel stations. So once this is successful, we're going to start expanding into churches, sororities, fraternities, etc. So definitely, thank you for that response. Chris is saying here, question, what ideas do you have for those in the community who have no idea about investing, entrepreneurship, the 10K project? So many of us just don't have the education about building Black communities. I'm just trying to get more ideas on how to reach our people. So great question. Number one is we are doing this Building Black Wealth series about 3 times a month. So inviting those who who are new to come and just take a look and listen with regards to building Black wealth. The other thing that I will say is Dr. Keisha is working on a great knowledge center for Investing 101 and financial literacy. So Dr. Keisha, if you wanted to talk a little bit more about the knowledge center you're putting together.
Yes.
And then the third thing I will say before Dr. Keisha goes is you can't bring everybody with you. Sometimes if people don't want to come, unfortunately, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So Dr. Keisha, I did want to open it up to you though.
Yeah, and I would also say to that too, there always will be kind of the poor among us, but you know how it works with particularly in our community. You got to show them better than you can tell them. Just you be successful, they'll come along. They'll come along. But what we have that we're building here in the 10K project is a knowledge center that will fill the gaps of exactly the kinds of things you're just bringing up here. We'll have a knowledge center for both the investor as well as the entrepreneur. And the knowledge center, we're looking for our expertise in our community here, folks who are professionals who can teach us how to make more money, how to save more money, how to protect our wealth and our tax, through taxes. We're looking for folks who have specific information for the youth, for our little ones. We've been talking about generational wealth and building our communities. It starts with the little ones. I want our young ones I want this just to be normal for them, that this is what we do. There's a Black agenda. That's what we do. We take care of our own, and so on and so forth. So anyway, we do need you guys to reach out to us here. Our knowledge center will include financial literacy information that spans from, like I said, from just basic financials information all the way to building family banks and family wealth plans, and then on over even into the entrepreneur side. We'll be helping people build business plans rather, and strategic plans, and getting all those business supports that any business of any size could use to scale and to grow and to be successful. We're looking for information to this even on a holistic level in terms of developing skills like negotiating as entrepreneurs, and dealing with stress and having to fire people or hire people. All of those kind of things, all the things that truly will support and undergird a business and an investor in terms of their knowledge. And certainly will be helping the investors understand how to evaluate companies so that they can make wise decisions about choosing a business to invest in on our platform as well. But the information that we have here will serve you well beyond just what we're doing here on the 10K projects. And that's really the idea. We talked about changing mindsets and having the right information. We're trying to create a one-stop shop for you with regard to that. But again, because of the nature of our platform, we cannot accept any affiliate relationships. So any professional who would like to share their content with us, you have to be the owner of that content so that you can give express permission for us to use it. And it would be you contributing it to our knowledge center. It also will put you in a directory that we're also developing. Again, many of us know where to go to find our best Black-owned restaurant or something like that. But those professional services, this will be that kind of directory that will have that information in there, so we can support each other in our businesses in a professional manner. What else do I want to say about that? So just make sure you be sure to hit the link. It has all the information about our requirements and some of the restrictions. And I'll be in touch. I will be in touch.
Yeah, we did a 50-minute presentation on the Knowledge Center. That's on our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and put in Black 10K Project, you'll find our YouTube channel. It's probably the best way for you to get more detailed information. And thanks to Talisha for putting that in the chat. It's the10kproject.com/partner. Also want to congratulate Victor Johnson. He won either $10 in an Amazon gift card or $10 worth of Bitcoin for having the best response around building Black wealth. And we have, go ahead.
Take the Bitcoin, Victor.
We are not allowed as a platform to tell you which one to do.
Strongly recommend.
So there are a couple of interesting questions that we have here. Number one is, do we find grants for entrepreneurs? We as the 10K Project do not. However, we are going to have a business directory within the 10K Project for people who are members who want to add information in. If you want to take that on as the person who helps companies find grants, then, please have at it. The one thing I will say, just from being a business plan writer for 10 years about for-profit businesses receiving grants, is it's usually for places that are economically depressed or for specific targeted industries. So, not to put down hairstylists, but if you're opening up a beauty salon, like I get questions like that all the time, I have yet to see a grant for someone who's opening up a beauty salon in New York or someplace like that. So I'm just kind of, giving you some of my experience. Doesn't mean it's the end all be all, but somebody, if that's something that you want to do, I think that a lot of you will find side hustles and other businesses you could start just from being around the 10K Project as well. Antoine has a great question here. Can we create business plans based off of wealthy manufacturing industries that Black people are not in, then match those business plans up with wealthy investors and asseted big African-American families to take on the business and make it their family business for the next 20 years? That is possible. That could be a side hustle for you. Absolutely. The virtual, groups that hopefully we have to talk to legal counsel if we can host them. If not, I would suggest other people host them. You can absolutely do that. My question is, why are you giving them to other big asseted African-American families? When there could be groups of people within the community that are looking for a business to either start or participate in. So, I'm just kind of throwing that out. Talisha, Eric, you guys have anything to add to Antoine's suggestion and question?
I think that is, again, the business plan is truly looking for, I would say building something is always looking for the holes. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's not about recreating something just in a Black version. It's really trying to find the problem. Right. So find a problem that really needs to be solved for everybody, and you have a business. So I think sometimes looking at it, just trying to mix and match or trying to replicate something that's already in existence, we have that already, and that doesn't always fare well. But a business that solves a problem that everybody has works real, real well.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of those values that a value add of being in the 10K Project is that this is the way we think. So as you get around these kind of people who think this way, you start to see things differently, and that's that starting of that mind shifting, that renewing of the mind. So you're in the right place. We got some good ideas here already. So you guys, somebody please, let's go with that. Let's get together.
Like one thing I'll also say with this is Dr. Keisha and I had a conversation with Dr. George Frazier a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that he talked about was a lot of these emerging industries about creating ancillary businesses that then serve and work alongside and in those industries, all of those. And, I remember, he brought up robotics, but he brought up the issue of being someone who actually serves robotics repair, and that is your focus. And so I do look at these as these are created. There are going to be so many opportunities for us to then find our place and find our niche, and then really look to dominate within that.
Absolutely. And I want to reiterate that not everybody is meant to be an entrepreneur, and that's perfectly fine. You can be just an investor, whether it's in the 10K Project, companies that are coming on to the platform, or you're doing things on your own. You can start a family bank on your own. If you become a member, 3 weeks ago now, I think it was, we had a family come on, a Black family that has had a family bank for 30 years, sorry. They started off with $25 per family member. I mean, Robert like broke it down how they did it. And he gave me some backup information that we're going to be putting into the Knowledge Center. So, you know, no excuses there, right? The other thing is every business needs salespeople. They need marketing people. A lot of businesses need project managers, HR people. You know, some businesses are going to have those people on full time. Some of them will have them part time. Some of them will have them as independent contractors. It's okay to say, which is why we're a matchmaker for 3 groups of people. The investor, which is everyday people like you and I that have $100 each to put into a business. The entrepreneur that has the great idea and the great vision and a core team that's helping them. And then those business specialists. If you're an accountant, if you're an attorney, you're a bookkeeper, you're a digital marketer, you're a writer. We actually have an economist and a writer working with the 10K Project now to put together some studies that we have. So whatever your gift is, when you become a member, I can't say it enough, consider like becoming one of our entrepreneur members and adding yourself to the database. You never know who's going to need you. And you're also never know, as you're seeing different ideas come up, if you're able to reach out to that entrepreneur and say, I have an additional way that I can assist you, because we can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. Chris is asking, if it was to happen, would the 10K Project accept donations from successful entrepreneurs, celebrities, and athletes? No, we would not. As a portal, they would have to come in as investors. However, because they are most likely accredited, they would be able to put more than $100 into, you know, a bunch of different companies. So that's what we would encourage them to do, because we want them to invest in companies. We don't want them investing in the 10K Project. We want them investing in the companies that you're bringing to the table. So with that, I want to go around, unless you guys have anything specific, want to go around and just have final words, and then we'll let everybody go for the night. And we want to thank everyone for being here with us as well.
2 questions in the chat that remain there. There's one that's how can we make another investment? And Angela, I think, wants the link to the family bank, but I think that was a member only. Was that a member only?
Yes. So Angela, the family bank was a member only. Right now, starting last week, I started creating a members only weekly newsletter. So if you were a member as of yesterday morning, you should have gotten the members only weekly newsletter. And in it, it had member replays. And one of the links you'll see is to the family bank. If you're not a member, then you'll want to become a member. We will admit that you have to be waitlisted until sometime tomorrow, just because we have to change some things in our system. But please get on the wait list. And as soon as we are ready to go again, we'll let you know. You can become a member and you can access that and some of the other members only content that we have. Talisha, was there another question?
Yes, I think there's a question from Ray. It says, how can we make another investment? I'm not sure what they mean by that, with another investment.
Yeah, if you're already a member, that's it for now. Just stock your money away. You're Tawana's favorite person. If you're going to be saving for the investments that are coming up whenever we get SEC approval. So any other questions, Talisha?
I think that's it.
Okay. Well, we want to thank everyone for being here tonight. We know it wasn't exactly what you signed up for, but we hope we said something that inspired you, got your juices thinking. One of the biggest things that we want to do is have a major impact on the community. I kind of liken it to Ebony or Essence back in the day, where, you know, you walked into any Black person's house in like the early 80s, mid 80s, and you had the Ebony and the Essence, if there was a female in the house. You know, like, we want people 20 years from now to be able to say, I was touched by the 10K Project, whether it was a job that they got, or a part-time independent contractor opportunity or investments that they made, etc. And that's like my really big thing, because I believe this is going to be my legacy. And I can't thank everybody enough. So Dr. Keisha, do you have any final comments?
Oh, I just wanted to extend again the invitation for your expertise to be included in our knowledge center that we're developing. That's really it. I know you guys are out there. So be sure to reach out to the 10K Project, 10kproject.com/partner. I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Right.
Eric?
No, I just want to tell you, thank you so much for everybody tuning in tonight and for having ears to hear and having a heart for the community and wanting to, be a part of this. We really appreciate you taking the time for it.
Thanks.
Talisha?
Likewise, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and please feel free just to come and be receptive to see what we have. As again, that mind shift starts with just showing up.
Amen. And thank you to all of you who stuck in here with us. I read something that you may have thinking about cutting off because Dr. Kimbro wasn't here, but you decided to stay with us. That really touches our heart. And we want to do some really big things in the community. So we also thank you for brainstorming with us tonight as well. And, I want to say God bless you and have a great evening. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.